Hello, in this video we're going to continue looking at using C from Python. I'm looking at this article here, how to create a Ctypes wrapper. I found this and it's more of my development as a developer, if that's not a pun. What I'm doing is learning more C, and I've actually been following a very good series on YouTube by Professor Barry Brown. Look that up if you're interested. Now, like it or not, Python pretty much is not the quickest language out there. So if you're interested in speed, or if you're ever interested in interfacing with hardware, or if you know a little bit of JavaScript and you want to kind of learn more JavaScript, or just even learn more coding in general, then learning C is a good thing to do. If you learn C, the jump to JavaScript is then easy. I never realized that. I thought JavaScript was all these brackets and these weird symbols, and then just chipping away gradually at learning bits of C. You don't even have to learn one of the harder parts of C, which is pointers. So enough said about that. Either you're interested in maybe adding a bit of C to your repertoire, or you're not. So without further ado, I found this article. Now, if you've seen my previous one or two videos, you'll know that I was interfacing with my Arduino, and the Arduino, for those that aren't aware, uses compiled C code. Now, I may or may not go on to do more stuff with the Arduino in the near future. My current plan is to keep going with my series that I'm following on YouTube with Professor Barry Brown. One of the things he's looking at next actually is breaking passwords. And one of the things that keeps cropping up there is modulus operator. And that coincidentally overlaps nicely with what I've been reading about at the start of my Bitcoin developer book. We'll come on to that, probably not in this video, but in a future video, we'll go back and look at that. There are things called finite fields, and we also start on chapter 1 of that, looking at how you can use the modulus operator on a minus number, and that it alters the whole way that you need to think about things. We're all brought up learning decimal, positive integers, and so on. As soon as you start going into the world of negative, you're going into the world of modulus. You just need to kind of alter the way you think about things, and kind of, yeah, I guess it's like learning another language in some ways. You have to scrap your old thoughts and words. Anyway, I digress. So today we're looking at using C from Python. If you saw my other video, you'll know that what you can do is write a function in C, compile it, and when you compile it, you do it on the command line, or that's the preferred method, and then you compile it as a .so in Linux or Mac, whatever, it's Unix, isn't it? If you're on Windows, then it's called a DLL, and I'm not going to cover that here, but it's the whole concept's the same. So that's everything on this channel. I try to always link back to the underlying core concept. So the core concept here is using C from Python, and let's get on with looking at some code. So this article I found was actually on that's a German scientific IT systems website. Jülich Forschungszentrum. That's my German pronunciation over and done with. So this is a short tutorial on using C from Python with the help of a Ctypes wrapper module. Let's say we have a small C library for calculating sums and want to use it in Python. So to calculate a sum, if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. and you probably know that's 15. That's easy. What if you put in some minus numbers, for instance? Not so easy. You have to kind of start doing some running. You have to keep a running tally in your head of whether it's plus or minus, as well as what the actual number is. So anyway, this is the code. This is the C code that we're going to copy, compile, and then we will use it in the Python example, which they provide down here. What I'm going to do is actually go through that line by line, because they actually kind of quite quickly talk about it, but I just want to elaborate on it a bit more, as much as anything, just to cement my understanding, and hopefully that helps you. So here we go. So with C, unlike Python, you have to specify whether you're working with an integer. So everything goes into memory, and it needs to know whether it's an integer, double, float, char, so on. So here, this is our function. Just so in Python, that would be just say def, wouldn't it? So we'd be saying def our function. In Python, we'd stuff some brackets, and we'd be passing some stuff. So in C, as well as passing something in, which is what's happening here, you're passing in that asterisk there, by the way, does not mean multiply. It means what follows is a pointer. Now don't worry about pointer. Whenever you see start and then a word, if you're thinking of that in Python, what that really means is it's a list. In C, it's called an array. An array is basically pointer, which points to a memory address, and then it stores whatever follows in sequential bytes in memory. Whenever you use this, so imagine that's a Python list for simplicity. It's not, but just imagine it is. What we'd have here is actually the length of that array. We have to say how long that list is. So in Python, if you create a list, you don't have to say how long it is. In C, you don't either. It could be just open-ended, but a lot of the time you need to actually specify how long the array is. So what this function's actually doing is, for here we would be saying integer num underscore numbers, and if that happens to be 6, that actually is the upper limit of our for loop. So num numbers, the reason you need that is because that's the upper limit of your for loop. Why are we using a for loop? Because we're going all the way through our list of numbers, our array of numbers, list, array. So a list in Python is kind of like an array in C and JavaScript even, I guess. So what we have here is in I, so I is just for our iterator, our counter effectively. And we just say from 0 up to the end of the list, keep cycling through, iterating through, and then we start off with sum, which is basically our tally. Our tally equals tally plus the new number. Sorry, the tally equals the tally plus the new number. That's what the plus equals there is. You get that in Python. So and then at the end, it just returns the result. The result is the sum. So by the time we get to the 5th item, if we were doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would be going 1 plus 2 equals 3 plus 4 equals 7. Hang on, no. 1 plus 2 equals 3. 3 plus 3 equals 6. 6 plus 4 equals 10. 10 plus 5 equals 15, and then it would return 15. So that code I've just why not on top? I don't know. So that's the code I've just pasted in here. And I've tried to make this even simpler than my previous videos. So you'll see in the top right, I've got 3 files. That one, which is, let's get rid of that. So actually 2 files. So that's the Python file and that's the C file. So the third file is what we compile. And hopefully you can see that on the dark screen there. So I'm using Clang. You could use GCC. I'm using Clang because that's what the series I've been following along to is. But so we go Clang or GCC, up to you. You could just do GCC. Those are the switches, fpic and shared and -o, and then we say that's the name of our output file, so we want to just call it libsum.so, which is shared object. So it's the same name as our C file, our source C file. And did you see that in the top right? We've got a third file again. I deleted that just now. We had 2. Compiled it. Now we're back to 3. Just if I delete it, I'll just show you. You can use GCC or you can use Clang. It makes no difference. Well, obviously it does, but to you, to the visual, to the eye, it doesn't, and obviously to your Python code, it doesn't. So there we go. You can use either, whichever. If you've got one of them already on your computer, then use that. Chances are you've got GCC. Right. So this is kind of fairly understood, and if you know JavaScript, then this will be. You should be kind of quite happy to. Why's that not? It's taking its time. I think the laptop's going slow because I'm recording. Yeah, there we go. Just that's the comment there I've just put in there. Had to compile. This is all relatively new to me, so I just need to always keep that handy. Right, okay, so that's the C file. If you wanted to write another function, you would just do the same. So you could have I don't know what the function would be. Let's just say it was called multiplier, and you could just pass it. Let's do that then. So we call it int our function 2 int. Depends if we're passing a list or not. If we could do it, we could do it the same as this. And then we would say, in actual fact, miscall there, afraid, sorry. What was I going to say? We don't even, let's just add up 2 numbers. Num1 in num2. Oh. Let's make this really basic, and we'll just say return. To be honest, why would we even be doing this in C? But it's just to show you can have more than one function in. And yeah, always remember, I know in JavaScript, it's optional to use the semicolons, but in C you must have those. So there we go. So 2 functions. Right, so let's go back to Python. And in some ways, this is more complicated than the C. I know you might not agree, but right. So first thing we do is we import Ctypes. That's built into Python. So if we do down here, if we do Python and then import Ctypes, you should have it. See, no error. So the very first line, very first thing is underscore sum equals Ctypes dot cdll. That's a class, and you're passing the file location of your shared object into that class when it instantiates. So basically you've got a variable equals an instance of the Ctype CDLL class, and the class requires, it needs to know about the shared object, which is what we've just compiled. So once we've got this object here, what we do with it is, so basically it's still effectively that class. It's that the CDLL class using the shared object. And then from that shared object, we say, go and find our function, which is that. Don't ignore the one down there because it's got a similar name, but that's our function too. So it's the top one. So it's saying from the shared object, use the our function with the following arguments. So argtypes. If you've used sysargv or args in Python, it's a similar idea. You're just passing arguments in to your function from the command line. Although here it's doing it within the code. So ctypes.cint, what we're saying is this c_int is a built-in type from Ctypes. So we're saying anything that we pass into this function, treat it as a Ctypes c_int, which is really saying pass it to the C function, the C shared objects library, and treat it as an integer. Here it's saying that's our array. So it's saying treat the array as a numeric array, which actually in C knows that an array is actually a pointer. So a pointer is is pointing to the memory address where it's going to begin storing all of the items in the list, array, whichever you want to call it. Seeing as we're back in Python, we'll call it the list. So all we're saying is create an integer which stores the length, and create an array which has the data we're passing in. So we create an array which stores all of that. So this is the prototype really. Then what we'll do here is we create the function which is actually going to use the function from our C code. So our function, now this doesn't have to match this. Doesn't have to match. So this is just the name of the function in Python. And then we're going to pass in numbers. So when we actually use the function, as you can already see here on line 13, numbers needs to be a Python list, which then gets, which Ctype tells C to treat it as a integer pointer, integer array. So yeah, that's when we use it, that's what we'll be passing it. So here we say numbers, and then we just need to create a sum, which is a global variable, which that's kind of not good practice. So don't use globals if you can possibly get away with it. I'm just going to use it here for this example, but never plan on using globals ever again. Globals you shouldn't need to use so much if you use object-oriented code, because the global is that you can use self. When you use self, you don't need to use global. Other videos explain that way better than I can. Okay, so num underscore numbers. So we're creating a variable here, which is we just want to know how long the list is. And this is the list. So numbers is the list, which we'll be passing, which will be, when we use it at the end, it will be this. So we just want to get the length of this list, which will actually be, in this case, it will be 6. So num numbers will end up equaling 6. The array type, array underscore type, this is just a variable name. But what we're actually saying here is ctypes.cint. So we're saying it's an integer array. And then we're saying it's an array called star. So that actually, you may see it written this way, and that will also work. So it's not multiplying. It's not the multiply operator. When it's used here, it's a pointer. The only reason it works like this here is because we're using ctypes. So if you see ctypes, cint, and then num underscore numbers, which is expecting an integer. I think this will work. Let me just space that back out now, and we'll come back and change that. So result. Now we're getting to the good bit, because this is what we're going to return. So underscore sum. So we need to say it's this line again. It's this whole line again, which was what's called the prototype. And the only difference here is that we're passing in, within our Python function, we're actually passing in variables that we collected within Python. So num underscore numbers and pointer to number. So yeah, there you see there's no space there. So let's just get rid of that there. So in general, when you see, this is the reason it looks so complicated is because it's using C syntax effectively within Python. So, and then we return the result. So let's just print it. We'll test it. And let's see what we get. So we should get, I'm just going to put all those numbers back to, so that should give us 21. Yeah, there we go. So a lot. How many lines of code is that? 13. I know we've got some gaps, but 14. So 27 lines of code to add up those numbers. Okay. Right. What if sorry, minus 66 minus 2, 65. Right, yeah. Now you see why it's better? You see how quick that was? Instant. It's so quick compared to if it was doing it the same thing in Python natively. Yeah, so some things to watch out for when you're learning this, if you plan to. So writing the C code is the easy part. It's the Python, understanding how to construct it for Python. So at the start, all you're doing is specifying the variable. You're telling Python where the shared object is. So it's saying go and use the shared object. Then you're saying use the function from the shared object, and the argument types are these data types. So those two are kind of, the underscores mean that they're used privately. They're not. Well, that's what they should mean. Oh no, actually publicly you got global, and then you've got your result. Yeah, so it's, don't quote me on that. Let's change this now, and we'll use function 2. So our function numbers. In fact, we could get rid of most of this. So here on line 4, we need to say our function 2, function 2, and we're only actually passing in 2 integers, aren't we? So to make that work, we'll need to do that, and we'll strip all that out. And function 2, I don't even think we need any of the pointer stuff. Let's just try that. Why is it not liking that? Our function 2. Just bear with me on this. This is all part of a learning process, so if you're getting bored, I apologize. Archetypes must be. I didn't use archetypes the other day. I don't even know if I need. Yeah, it needs to know what it's using. So let's do. Let's try that. So does it need to? Okay. Must be an iterable, not Ctypes pipe piece in types. Get rid of that. 2 takes 2 arguments. Oh. Class type error, wrong type. Okay, you're trying to print. We're getting integers back. Nearly there. No. I think I should be passing A and B here. Yeah, sorry. Need more of the, I think probably caffeine is, well, it's a powerful stimulant, isn't it? I think probably need to detox from it really, but yeah. If you're not, I'm not going to go into life philosophy here, but if you have things on your mind, then maybe you don't sleep so well. And if you don't sleep so well, then you're tired in the morning. And if you're tired in the morning, then you use coffee as a assistant, and that's not always a good thing. So, right, hopefully what I've shown here is pretty much the most basic way to use Ctypes with Python. And the first example from the web page was using a pointer, which is kind of, because we're using an array, which is basically a Python list. So I showed you that working. I kind of talked you through it to the best of my current knowledge. And then what we've done is we've stripped that down, and let's make that more complicated. So 44 minus 25 should give us 19, yeah. Do minus 75, just prove it works. Minus 31. Yeah, so what we've done is we've written something in C. Or in fact, we've got two functions in C. And we've called them using Python, which then executes very quickly because the code is compiled as a shared object. And then that allows us to do some good stuff. So yeah, sorry for the kind of, I'm sure a lot of you watch this on 1.25 speed or 1.5 speed, and that's not a problem. I'd do the same, to be honest. But hopefully this is just kind of showing you a normal human being learning stuff and stripping stuff back, experimenting, breaking stuff, fixing it. And rather than one of these tutorials that kind of, in fact, let me see if I can find it. It's quite amusing. I think it's called Every Programming Tutorial Ever. Guess how long it is? Agree, whatever. Just go. Every programming tutorial. There you go. 29 seconds long. Hopefully, I might have to just make this really kind of small, just to so I don't. It's only 29 seconds long, so he's talking really fast. Import various. It's about, there's over 1,000 lines. He just said put that in your program, and then compile, and then there we go. Oh, it's amazing. That's it. That's the end of the tutorial. He's sped up. He's talking twice as fast as well. So yeah, you kind of got the yin and yang. You've got me talking slowly and just kind of making stuff up on as hacking away at stuff, and then yeah, you must watch this. Every program. It's got 13 million views. You should read the comments, really. I bet they're funny. Maybe I need. Oh, there you go. This is so accurate, even not having the code in the description. I hate how accurate this is. Teacher explaining what the code means. It makes your computer do stuff. I think that's good anyway. Thumbs up, like, subscribe and all that, yeah. I'm never going to be one of these people with doing one of these thumbnails and talking really fast with loads of LED lights in the background, and I'm giving up on all that. If you want to do some code, watch this. If you don't, then, or if you want to just see loads of JavaScript fancy stuff, yeah. I think my channel's always going to be a little bit of a, what's the word? No, backwater. Do you know what backwater means? It means kind of, you know, you have like a motorway, then you have a dual carriageway, then you have a road, then you get a B road, and then you get roads that are just kind of a bit bumpy with not much traffic on. Yeah, not much traffic. Yeah, you can say that again. Thumbs up, like, subscribe, yay! Come on, everybody, let's talk really fast, and then you subscribe to my channel, and give a thumbs up, and then a like, and then click the bell for the subscribe and the notifications, and then your life will be happy. Nah. In fact, I quite like a lot of videos when you get to the end, and then there's kind of, you've gone through all the code. It's a bit like when you're at school, and the teacher teaches you all the stuff, and you think, wow, they're really clever, and I wonder what they're interested in, or I wonder what they're like personally, because it's very rare you actually see or get to know kind of that side of them. And a lot of YouTube channels are the same. It's like, hey, wow, you did this really fast, yeah, and then I've got these pot plants, and then I've got this Apple Mac laptop, and it's amazing. And then right now I'm going to sit on the sofa in my socks, and then I'm going to just my IKEA furniture, and yeah, I'm going to sell you this lifestyle dream while I play some kind of, was it trip hop, drum, jazz music, and just had enough of that. And hopefully you have too, because it's just been rammed down your throat, all this lifestyle. I can't say the word because I might get banned, but it's just lifestyle BS. And if you're 25 or 30, you may already be starting to see through that. I didn't until I was probably late 30s, mid 30s. I don't know, maybe early 30s. But in your 20s, you're taken in by that. And for instance, does anybody ever see the Wojak videos? Looking back at those at my age now, they make they make me laugh, because it's almost like he's obviously in his early 20s, and he was working at McDonald's as a wagey, or a normie as they call him. And to be honest, there's a lot, and I think this Wojak, this whole lifestyle, YouTube, Instagram, everything's really fast, and it's like a hamster wheel. Yeah, you can see Wojak, and all he's ever doing is either trying to make lots of money to buy a Lamborghini, or he's gambling all his money to try and get rich. Or he's failing dismally, and he's having other successful people kind of rub his nose in it. So yeah, just I'm not giving you lifestyle advice. I'm kind of just saying this channel's just gradually diminishing into code, Python code, some C code. And even when which I'm planning to do soon, is look at Bitcoin, but from a mathematical code point of view. I'm not going to be saying, hey, buy crypto, it's going to go to the moon, buy Dogecoin because somebody tweeted about it, and then look at this graph. I think, look up Austrian economics and listen to about 10 hours of Michael Saylor talking. Once you've done that, you'll realize that just about all Bitcoin YouTube videos are actually BS. And crypto, don't confuse Bitcoin with crypto. So Bitcoin is one thing. The other 16,000 things are cryptos. And this is not my opinion. This is the SEC, which is the Securities Exchange Commission in America, I believe. Or basically God when it comes to finance. Yeah. They all use the blockchain or a blockchain. So even if you disagree with me, learning the code, which is underneath the bonnet with blockchains, and it's not all about. So far, I've done a couple of videos, and I've kind of looked at the hashing, the SHA-256 hashing, and I've briefly mentioned Merkle trees, which is where you kind of aggregate the hashes and then you rehash. So you've got a hash of some other hashes, and it's like in a downward tree structure. But what we're going to be looking at next, as I mentioned right at the start, is what was I going to say? Yeah, the modulus, and also sets of prime numbers. So modulus, prime numbers, they happen or especially prime numbers, and prime numbers and modulus are kind of the bedrock of anything to do with security, hashing, and obviously then Bitcoin blockchain. So yeah, rather than watching a boy with a baseball cap on backwards talking really fast, see through that. They're going for clicks. It's clickbait. They're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube or whatever. If you're interested in code, which you probably are if you're watching this channel, understand prime numbers, big prime numbers, huge prime numbers, modulus operator, and then understand why it's difficult to reverse engineer, and then obviously then SHA-256 and all that, an elliptic curve and so on. Elliptic curve is, I think that's chapter 2 or 3 in the O'Reilly Mastering Bitcoin book. It's written by Jimmy Song. You may have seen him on some of the Bitcoin videos on YouTube or wherever. Yeah, he knows his stuff. But from this channel, I'm going to be looking at the modulus and finite fields. And yeah, the direction that channel's going really is more towards the maths, the algorithm, and the code. So I probably won't be doing many NFT videos anytime soon. That's probably not going to get me lots of clicks, but really these videos are also, as well as kind of sharing stuff that I think other people may find useful, really it's just forcing me to learn stuff so that I can make a video about it, which is partly for other people to benefit from, but yeah, believe it or not, it's also so that I can document what I'm learning and force me to. They say the best way to understand something is to teach it to others, and I'm not saying for one moment that I'm a teacher, but sharing knowledge and demonstrating stuff is as close as I'm going to get without doing a degree in teaching, which you can't do courses and everything, and you can't study everything. So yeah, for the sake of this channel, there'll be lots of number crunching. Don't think of it as maths. Think of it as problem solving. And to be honest, if you want to be a good coder, I don't think you really can avoid some of the hashing, modulus, fields, sets. Look up sets where you've got kind of the union, the intersection, the subtraction, and so on. If you want to know what to search for, search for data structures. And yeah, if you've just looked at YouTube videos probably before, you won't really have been attracted to watching videos about data structures, unless you're a professional in some sort of, I don't know, high-speed finance, and you're a highly paid Python developer maybe, but or you've done a degree in computer science. This is the other issue. If you're trying to get a job or get a career in coding and you've not got a degree in computer science, you will be at a disadvantage, because often there's this saying about you don't know what you don't know, and that's true. So try and expose yourself to more stuff on YouTube or just in general that's been either published by professionals. I would pretty much hazard a guess that this is, yeah, this is a business. This isn't just somebody's blog. So yeah, professional code and professional teachers, i.e. universities, and there's so much stuff out there now from MIT. So I know there's loads of stuff on Code Camp, and I've not watched a huge amount of that, but if I had the choice and I needed to learn something and I had an hour and a half, Code Camp is great, but often they'll bundle stuff together and then it's 12 hours or 16 hours. If I want to learn the concepts of something and be taught by a professional, yeah, MIT. Anyway, that's probably enough talking for now, and you probably got bored and you've probably already clicked off. So yeah, next video. Thank you. Subscribe and all that stuff. Yeah, because that's what everyone says. Thanks.